First and foremost, I'd like to send a congratulations out to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Fantastic performance on the weekend, picking up his 10th successful UFC title defense of his flyweight title, tying the record currently held by Anderson Silva and now, of course, Johnson. Very impressive. Unfortunately, the ratings are were the lowest that the Fox series has ever seen, the main show anyway. And that's unfortunate because Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, he's impressive. The guy has finished, I did a quick tweet about this, 6 of his last 9 opponents, all of course title defenses, has defended his title twice a year since winning the belt, at least twice a year, and is a fantastic champion overall. Technically, he's just a dominant fighter, and yet he's just not getting the recognition and the response he should be getting for all of his efforts. I am hoping this win leads him to getting an opportunity to fight for the bantamweight title against the winner of Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw. I think that would be a fight that would draw attention to him, especially if he can pick up win both belts. Welcome back to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA Predictions. As always, I am your host, Scott Johnson. On this episode of the show, we're breaking down the upcoming UFC Fight Night 108, which will take place in Nashville, Tennessee, featuring Cub Swanson taking on Artem Lobov in the main event. All 6 of my main card predictions will be on this episode of the show. All of my preliminary picks will be available at kamikazeoverdrive.net, so please check that out. I want to give a quick shout out to Cub Swanson, who I always tweet my posters that I make that you're looking at right now. And he liked it on Twitter, which I always appreciate when fighters do that. I always have this tendency, I tweeted out, it seems like the fighter I pick against likes my work, which is unfortunate. We'll have to wait and see if that holds true here when I get to that prediction. Additionally, I'd also like to give myself a little pat on the back. I was just noticing I got contacted by feedspot.com, and they ranked Kamikaze Overdrive as one of the top 50 MMA blogs and websites for MMA enthusiasts. I was pretty impressed. I enjoyed that. I'm ranked 42nd out of 50, which, hey, whatever. I'll take whatever accolades I can get. The UFC is ranked number 1, MMA fighting number 2, the Underground is ranked 3. So, that's some pretty weighty competition, or weighty company to be with. Not competition by any stretch of the imagination. But it's just, that's fantastic for me. Whatever it is, thanks very much for them mentioning me, and I appreciate that greatly. As far as my bet packs are concerned, I'm coming up with another 7-6 night. I had a couple wins, but again, nothing significant. Very disappointing. I had several losses. Either 2-leg parlays that lost by 1, or I had a couple 3-leggers on my big reward bet pack that lost by 1 leg. That's difficult to deal with. But again, it just wasn't my night. I'm kind of cramped for time right now. I'm kind of looking forward to the break again, just with what's going on with I have outside of this the MMA prediction realm. But again, I'm hoping to make a couple alterations again, continue to make those alterations, and I think I will see results if I hold true to what I've been doing recently. So we'll see what holds up on this night. Without further ado, let's get to my first main card prediction. The first main card fight on the card takes place in the UFC's welterweight division. The 13th ranked Jake the Juggernaut Ellenberger, 31 wins, 12 losses, takes a record of 9 wins and a single defeat. Now, Perry is coming off that first loss, the first loss of his career, but interestingly enough, he's actually moving up to fight a ranked opponent. That loss came to Alan Jouban. Jouban pointed out that he'd been, campaigning to fight a ranked opponent, won that fight, got a shot at Gunnar Nelson, who was ranked, he lost, and here's Platinum Mike Perry coming off a defeat, also getting a ranked opponent. We'll see how he fares, but you can see where some of the frustration comes with the UFC fighters as how the UFC sets up fights. For Jake Ellenberger, he's been a long-time top-ranked fighter, certainly has seen better days. He's coming off a TKO loss to Jorge Masvidal. He is 2-6 over his last 8 appearances and finished in 4 of those 6 defeats. Physically, Perry, 1 inch taller. They have the same reach. And Platinum Mike is 6 years younger. Now, looking at Perry first, he has 9 wins by knockout, coming off the first fight of his career to go the distance. He almost went 15 minutes against Roberts, knocking him out with 20 seconds left at the 4:40 mark of the third round. So a damn impressive win there, but still you saw he goes the distance. It was an unsuccessful effort. Conversely, Jake Ellenberger has 19 wins by knockout, but just 1 since early 2013, and he has been knocked out 4 times. You see those numbers starting to pile up. He's been submitted a couple times as well. Now, looking at Mike Perry first, he has very big power. He hits hard with everything he throws a lot of single strikes as a result. He'll throw a good left jab, a lot of hard low kicks, which can really do a number on opponents. He does a good job of keeping afraid to get hit. He really relies on his chin's ability to hold up. He almost invites his opponents to throw. He kind of, he's looking for them to throw a left and then look so he can counter back and land something significant. And really, I'll hit you, you hit me, my power will hold up, my chin will hold up, and that's how things will work out for me in the end. When he took out Yoon Lim, who's a very dangerous striker, he dropped him with a counter left hand. He hurt both Lim later in the fight and Roberts with a right hand as well in that fight. And again, he said he throws very hard kicks. He'll work in some hard knees as well. Now, in the Danny Roberts fight, he was slowing down a little bit. Additionally, he started very strong against Alan Jouban, actually buzzed him against the cage at one point, but he just couldn't maintain that output, and he started to slow down, and Jouban took the fight over and won a decision. So you kind of see where he has some issues. Now, looking at Jake Ellenberger, he might not even be in the promotion if he hadn't picked up a massive knockout of another durable, long-time veteran in Matt the Immortal Brown. He hurt him with a big right hand early on, really got off guard, but ultimately the finish came when he blasted Brown to the body. Brown, for a long time we've known Brown has a very vulnerable midsection. Ellenberger cracked him in it, dropped him, and put him away. Now, looking at Jake Over's career, he was a knockout artist when he first came to the UFC. He mixed his wrestling and his power striking together very effectively. He's developed as a more technical striker of late, but he's become far less dangerous. At least the knockouts have dried up. And he has a tendency to wait on his opponents a little bit, let them lead the dance, and he tries to answer, react. He's not nearly as aggressive, not nearly as, doesn't work at nearly as high a rate as he used to. And you look at his statistics, and again, this comes with him not being nearly as effective a fighter, but he averages just 2.42 strikes landed per minute compared to 2.67 strikes absorbed per minute. That's a big difference. That's a negative number for a fighter. A ranked fighter, which is very concerning. He really struggled with the pressure of Jorge Masvidal when they fought. He was backing up. He had no answer, no way to back him off, and really was getting overwhelmed. It was a very odd stoppage with the foot getting caught in the cage, but still, that's we could see where we were headed in that fight. Now, Ellenberger is an NCAA Division I wrestler. He is a BJJ purple belt, but he has landed 2 or less takedowns in each of his last 13 fights, and really we've not seen his wrestling be a factor in any of his recent victories, and that's something he might look to try and take, to switch things up, and he'd be smart to try and add that element back into his fight, or not. Ultimately, the key to beating Mike Perry is very simple. Well, it's not simple, but at least if you survive that early round and can start to get him to slow down and start to put pressure on him, start to be a little more diverse, not fall into some of his traps, that's when you can take the fight over. Jake, unfortunately, is 6-6 in decisions and doesn't appear to have that output or pressure or pace to win a 3-round fight against Mike Perry. Additionally, does he have the durability to survive that early pressure, aggression, and power that Perry's going to throw at him? I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. Jake Ellenberger seems to really struggle when guys start putting it on him, and I think that's what's going to happen here. So my prediction is Mike Perry to defeat Jake Ellenberger by knockout. Fight number 2 in the main card takes place in the UFC's lightweight division as Joe Lauzon, longtime UFC veteran, 27 wins and 13 losses, takes on Braveheart Stevie Ray of Scotland with a current record of 20 wins and 6 defeats. Now, Ray's coming off a split decision win over Ross Pearson. He has an opportunity here to add another fairly recognizable big-time name to his record. Joe Lauzon's one of the biggest names not ranked as far as the UFC's lightweight division is concerned. There's some other guys out there, but certainly if you can pick up a win over Joe Lauzon, you're probably going to get an opportunity to move up and get an opportunity to fight a ranked fighter. Lauzon split decision win over Marcin Held in his last fight. I picked Lauzon to win it. I didn't think he won the fight, so whatever. Probably lost, but it was coming on the heels of a tough split decision loss against Jim Miller, where I picked Lauzon to beat Miller. I felt he didn't have to win that matchup. He lost the fight, so maybe it works out in the end that way. Overall, he has alternated wins and losses over his last 7 fights. Both guys come in at 5 for the American. Ray, though, is 6 years younger and a southpaw. It's worth noting, especially for the striking exchanges, considering Ray is primarily a striker. And that's what, at the heart of this fight we're looking at here, is that grappler versus striker matchup. Now, not like it traditionally used to be, where one guy was completely incompetent on the feet and the other guy couldn't handle himself on the ground. It's just the case that one guy has a strong suit, and that's on the mat. The other guy can do it on the ground. The other guy can do it on the feet. But they're capable of holding their own wherever the fight goes. Ray, overall, has been submitted 4 times. He lost to Alan Patrick on the strength of 5 takedowns by the Brazilian, and that's worth noting. That's where he really struggled in that matchup. Conversely, Lauzon has been knocked out 4 times and has had issues with technically sound strikers who really put a good volume and pace together and don't give in to his pressure-based striking attack. Looking at Ray, he has very good striking skills overall. As I mentioned, he's a southpaw. He landed a nice counter right to floor Leandro Mafra when he knocked him out. He throws a very long right jab as well, and will mix in some long straight lefts as when he's attacking in succession. He will paw with that right hand to try and gauge the distance. He has pretty good footwork. He's relatively light on his feet, and he'll mix in some decent kicks. If the fight does hit the mat, he's a BJJ purple belt, so he's not completely like a duck out of water, or a fish out of water, but that's it's not where he wants the fight to take place. He did land a takedown against Ross Pearson in that fight. I think he completed 1 of 2 attempts. Overall, though, he is 3-3 in his last 6 fights to go 3 or more rounds. He did not look that great against Michael Labout in that long fight, even though he got the decision, and the other 2 wins that he's picked up in that span were both by split decisions. So his style, not exactly a fantastic style for longer fights. Now, for Joe, statistically, look at his stats. I've kept very close tabs on Lauzon as far as the stats are concerned. 2.27 takedowns at a 43% completion rate overall. He is 11-3 in UFC fights when he lands at least one takedown. 11-3, that's a very good record when you can pick up one takedown. On the other side of things, he is 1-6 in his last 7 fights without a takedown. That's crazy. Overall, he's a pretty decent wrestler. He took down Jim Miller on multiple occasions, very active on the mat for the top position or bottom position. He did struggle with takedowns of Held, but again, it was his activity off his back that a lot of people felt got him the victory, especially the judges, and I could see why. He chains his submissions together. He has good ground and pound from top position once he gets there, and really he does a good job of wearing guys out once they hit the mat. That's a place you don't want to be against Joe Lauzon unless you're very confident in your skills. On the feet, Lauzon can hold his own. He's a tough guy from Boston, which I love. He showed some pop, obviously taking Diego Sanchez, the first to ever stop him legitimately with strikes by a TKO. He dropped Melvin Guillar before submitting him. He cut Michael Chiesa. He throws some good straight punches, some slashing elbows as well. He'll brawl and put pressure on guys and see if he can break them. He did have some trouble with the power of Jim Miller, who was landing some pretty good shots in that fight and forcing Lauzon to look to his wrestling. And we have seen Lauzon struggle at times with some technically sound strikers. And more statistics to throw at you. He is 2-6 overall when his opponents land 50 or more significant strikes in a fight. He did submit Jamie Varner in that span to pick up one of those 2 wins, so he has to finish guys when they get over those numbers. Conversely, when his opponents land less than 50 significant strikes, Joe Lauzon 12-3. And all 3 of those losses that he suffered in that span were all finishes. So that's worth noting. So some pretty interesting numbers there when you're talking about Lauzon's fight. And I've kind of been backing those when I'm picking him to win or lose. And for the most part, I've been relatively successful. Ray's best 2 striking performances were 49 and 48 over 3 rounds. He is vulnerable to takedowns, as we saw in the Patrick fight. Those are the 2 keys for Joe Lauzon, so I'm going to roll with that there. Lauzon needs to push forward, use that volume in the feet to back him up, look for takedowns, be aggressive once he hits the mat. My prediction is Joe Lauzon to defeat Stevie Ray by submission. The next fight on the ledger takes place in the UFC's bantamweight division. Is the 7th-ranked John the Magician Dodson, 19 wins and 8 losses, former 2-time flyweight title challenger, former Ultimate Fighter winner. He's taking on the former WEC bantamweight champion, 10th ranked Eddie Wineland, 23 wins, 11 losses, and 1 draw. Now, Dodson's coming off a split decision loss to John Lineker. It was a 5-rounder. It was a heck of a fight. I picked Lineker to win that matchup, and that dropped him to 2-1 at bantamweight. His other win over former champion TJ Dillashaw in the Ultimate Fighter finale to go along with his victory over Manny Gambarian when he returned from the flyweight division. Wineland has returned to relevancy, scoring back-to-back knockouts over Frankie Saenz, a prediction I correctly nailed, upset there, and Takeya Mizugaki to gain some traction back in the division, got back into the top 10. Physically, Wineland 4 inches taller, he'll have a 3-inch reach advantage, and they are the same age. Now, overall, when you look at Eddie, it's a very interesting comparison of these 2 fighters. Eddie Wineland, movement is something he relies on heavily, and it's very awkward, very difficult to read. Not impossible, but certainly he throws a lot of curveballs at his opponents. Conversely, John Dodson, he relies on movement as well, but a much different form of movement. He relies on his speed to make him elusive when he's being defensive, and very dangerous when he is pushing forward and attacking. Now, overall, Eddie Wineland said the 2 key elements to making him successful is that unorthodox movement and his knockout power. Sometimes he only needs one opportunity to crack an opponent and change the complexion of a fight. He is a piston of a straight right, and that is what he routinely looks to land. Slam it through, knock his opponent out, stun them, hurt them, back them off, and then see where we go from there. He will mix in the odd uppercut from the right side, but it's that straight right where he is looking to do the most damage. He does have a tendency to hang his hands low, leave his chin up. He has been knocked out 3 times, including most recently Johnny Eduardo, and he has had his jaw broken a couple times that has made him almost retire from the sport. When he fought Bryan Caraway, he was moving well, avoiding strikes, being fairly effective there, and he was in position to attack, but he wasn't letting his hands go. He wasn't finding that groove where he felt comfortable attacking, and lost the fight because he couldn't match the volume of Caraway. Now, you look at Eddie Wineland, 4 of his last 5 wins have come by knockout. Conversely, the other win in that stretch was a split decision, and he has 4-4 in decisions overall, so that style is not great for winning fights on the scorecards. For Dodson, he is coming off a striking performance where he landed 101 strikes, but he lost. And the way I looked at it and the way it played out in my mind before the fight and the way it played out in the fight was there was too much backtracking. He wasn't landing anything. He was landing some big shots, but Lineker was pushing forward more often, landing bigger shots, and won a controversial and close fight, but still a good performance all the way around. Dodson, 9 wins by knockout, 0 losses. The guy's got a heck of a good chin. Hard to hit, too, so, it's difficult enough to hit. You might not be able to knock him out even if you do land. He has 7-8 decisions, though. Similar situation. 2 of those losses did come against Demetrius Johnson on the scorecards, but overall not a great record for a very quick and guy's got good cardio and known for being able to go deep into fights. He has had more success recently, but the Lineker and the DJ losses certainly brought him back down to reality. Hands, he hits very hard, quick right jab, throws a lot of hard kicks, took out Many Gambarian with a series of short right hands on the inside. Again, if he hits you, you could be in some serious trouble. Now, he did have a knee injury a little while back. It seemed to slow him down. He fought Zach Makovsky in one of his last flyweight bouts, or is it a tune-up before the second title fight. And Makovsky had a lot of success connected with his left hand routinely, and that was something worth noting. Dodson tends to hold his right hand a little bit low. It can open him up to left-hand strikes. That's not Eddie Wineland's forte. I'm not saying Eddie Wineland couldn't land from the left side, but I'd be more concerned if Dodson had issues from the right side, but that's not the case. Lineker was having a lot of success moving forward, pressuring him, backing him up, stalking him, making him seem like he was backtracking. I think Wineland's going to struggle to attack with consistency. Similar to the way he did against Caraway, he's going to start, he's going to stop, he's going to come up short on some strikes, he's going to just have the opportunities to not pull the trigger quick enough or often enough to make them count. I think the speed and power of Dodson is going to make it, and offensively it's going to make it, they're going to capitalize on Wineland hanging his hands too much. And the fact he keeps his chin up, it's going to cost Eddie, and that's cost him in the past, and I think he's facing a more dangerous striker than he has in a while. But Dodson still needs to keep moving forward. He can't fall into that Lyoto Machida style trap where you're being very strong defensively, but at the same time, you're not doing enough. He can make Wineland chase him, make him swing and miss, wear him out, discourage him, open him up for some attacks, but you still need to initiate as much as possible. Wineland thrives when his opponent's there to be hit. That won't be the case here. His chin is way too vulnerable for my liking. I like Eddie Wineland as a fighter. If he wins, fantastic. But my prediction is John Dodson by knockout. In the UFC's light heavyweight division, the 8th-ranked Ovince St. Preux, 19 wins and 10 losses, looks to right the ship a little bit when he takes on Marcos Rogerio de Lima, 15 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. Now, for the most part, these are 2 fairly exciting but flawed light heavyweights, and they're both looking to get back into relevancy in a division with a little bit of room to move. And you look at that light heavyweight division, no more Phil Davis, he's been gone for a while. Ryan Bader's gone. Anthony Rumble Johnson is gone. Those are 3 guys who would probably be in your top 5, or should be in your top 5. Also, you took it the fact Nikita Krylov's gone. He would be a top 10, top 12 fighter. And, of course, John Jones, who arguably is still the champion of the division, he is finally going to be sitting back to return. That's a lot of bulk taken out of the upper half of this division. So these 2 guys looking to reestablish themselves. Lima is coming off a win over an overmatched and late notice opponent. He did miss weight, which is very unfortunate. Lima did, not as a late notice opponent, but still he picked up the victory. OSP's coming off an upset loss to a late notice opponent. He has now lost 3 consecutive fights and is just 1-4 in his last 5 matchups. He has losses, though, to the former champion John Jones, former title challenger in Glover Teixeira, and potential next title challenger in Jimmy Manuwa, along with Volkan Ozdemir in his last fight. Physically, OSP, 2 inches taller, of a 5-inch reach advantage. De Lima is the younger man by 2 years. And interestingly enough, De Lima was 1 and done in Strikeforce. He had 1 appearance. I would love to see him fight more. He fought Mike Kyle at light heavyweight, while OSP fought 7 times in the promotion. So both guys, involved, but obviously OSP, the more established veteran from that forgotten organization. Now, OSP, for the most part, is a very good athlete. He has shown signs of skill, but he is still very rough around the edge. And I feel like I say this every time about OSP, and it's disappointing because I think it's his cardio that is holding him back from really opening up, and he's just not as smooth as he needs to be. Throws a lot of single strikes, very good kicking game, front kick, back leg kicks to the body, straight left jab. He'll work in a straight left and a left jab, knees to the body. He's very physical, but can hurt guys when he lands. He has a lot of power. He can counter strike as well. We saw him knock out Shogun with a counter left hand, counter left uppercut, took out Patrick Cummins. OSP is very relaxed when he's striking. He tries to maintain that to help his cardio. He keeps his hands low, a little bit too low for my liking. His chin tends to go up a little bit, and when his guard drops when he's attacking, he is vulnerable, and he will ultimately slow down in fights. He also needs to avoid running forward. He's looking to really hammer home his strikes when he does throw them, but it seems he overextends. He opens himself up to getting a hit and attacked. Now, when he fought Jimmy Manuwa, he pressured him early. He struggled, but he started to struggle in that fight when Manuwa fired back. OSP slowed down. I picked Manuwa to beat him by knockout. He got very defensive. He was backpedaling. He got knocked out. In his last fight against Volkan Ozdemir, he looked very flat. Not a dominant performance. I still think he could have got the victory in that fight. Both guys gassed hard. It was kind of an uneventful fight, and I think OSP could have easily been given the victory there, but the judges didn't agree. when you look at OSP's record, he has either given up a lot of takedowns or not scored any in a wrestling background. He certainly hinges heavily, as far as success is concerned, his success hinges heavily on his ability to get the fight to the mat. Now to Lima, all 6 of his UFC fights done in the opening round in victory or defeat. Just one fight to go outside the first round since 2012, and he is 0-3 in his last 3 fights to go beyond the 5-minute mark. For his record, 1-1 in decisions, compared to 11-1 in knockouts and 3-2 in fights ended by submission. He's a Muay Thai-based striker, everything thrown with power, overwhelms opponents with aggression, but also opens himself up to a lot of mistakes when he gets going. Very, very wild. He tends to be a bit of a reactive striker, swinging back in response to being attacked, and I just don't like the way he opens up. He can get himself put on his back or taken down because he makes mistakes. Now, he does kind of get drawn in close. That's kind of by design. He's very good in the clinch. He can land a lot of short elbows and knees and break guys down, can finish from that position. He has a bit of an underrated takedown submission game, good ground and pound. He took out Devin Hester once he got on top of him, but at the same time, his fight IQ is a bit of a question mark. It cost him against Nikita Krylov when he was going for submissions, and Krylov eventually got the better position and finished him with a submission. In his last fight against Antigulov, he got taken down quite quickly. He did look to attack and scramble to get back up. Couldn't get back up, eventually caught in a guillotine and forced to tap. Now, neither guy is great over the long haul. OSP is certainly slumping right now, but he has faced mostly very good competition. Not taking anything away from Volkan Ozdemir, but he's not John Jones or Glover Teixeira or Jimmy Manuwa. When you look at De Lima, when he gets that slight increase in competition level, he struggles. That mental, physical block seems to just not be there. And I think OSP is a better starter, and that's where you need to beat De Lima. OSP, I think he'll use his reach and controlled striking to keep Lima on the outside, force him to overextend, force him to get aggressive and push forward. And you're going to see OSP counter and take advantage of that, potentially with takedowns or beat him up in the clinch and eventually put him on the mat. And my prediction is Ovince St. Preux to defeat Marcos Rogerio de Lima by submission. In the co-main event of the evening, we are in the UFC's lightweight division, as long forgotten, but certainly not, I wouldn't say long forgotten. He's been out of action for a while. Number 14th ranked raging Iaquinta, 12 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw, takes on the newly nicknamed Diego Lionheart Sanchez with a current record of 29 wins and 9 losses. Anthony Smith might have a thing or two to say about that, but we're going to go with Lionheart for now. For Iaquinta, he's returning after just over 2 years. It was 2015 in April where we last saw him. He has been vocal about fighter pay, had some injuries to deal with, and he's finally returning to action, but certainly it's not been smooth sailing for Iaquinta recently. For Diego, he has fought 4 times since the last time we saw Raging Al, alternating wins and losses over his last 6 matchups. Now, Diego put a good performance together beating Jim Miller, looked decent in the Marcin Held upset. I correctly called that prediction. For the most part, he's been treading water, picking up wins where he needed to stay relevant. He is 1 inch taller, he'll have a 2-inch reach advantage, and he is 6 years older than Iaquinta, but he has 20 more pro fights to draw upon. Iaquinta coming off a split decision win over Jorge Masvidal, a fight I picked Masvidal in, and I felt, and most people felt, it was an absolute robbery. He had finished 3 straight fights by TKO prior to the decision victory. For Iaquinta, his success has hinged heavily on his wrestling. His improvements and a lot of what he's done has been striking-based. He's really improved the technical aspects of that attack. He's a good volume combination striker. 4.91 strikes landed per minute. He landed 93 in his win over Rodrigo Dam, a knockout victory. He can really put away opponents simply, or pull away from them and put them away with that volume and that pressure and that pace. He does get hit a lot. 3.72 strikes absorbed per minute. 83 significant strikes given up against Masvidal. He got rocked by Jorge early in that matchup, so certainly he's not a perfect striker, but he's very good at what he does. Additionally, his submission defense is a major concern. He's got pretty good takedown defense, but he has been submitted 3 times, especially in that fight against Mitch Clark, where he was on top and dominating, and Clark slept him with I think he got a choke off his back. I want to say it was an arm triangle choke, which was damn impressive for the Canadian. Sanchez, we all know what Diego's about. He's exceptionally aggressive with his forward pressure. He's a very big lightweight. He's got good cardio. He's very durable. He's always in there throwing and attacking. He did get knocked out by Joe Lauzon, so the question is, how durable is he at this age? We haven't really seen anything since. He hasn't faced a lot of dangerous strikers since that matchup, but we'll see how that comes, if that still holds true against Iaquinta. He likes to lead with an uppercut. He'll attack the body. He'll sit in the pocket to exchange and move forward behind his strikes, throwing those flurries and just walking his opponent down. He can be predictable at times, attacking in straight lines. And for a guy who throws so much, he only averages 2.75 strikes per minute, giving up 2.95. So his numbers are not even comparable to what Iaquinta lands. He has struggled with fighters that are more disciplined, won't brawl, look to sit back and counter and take advantage of that. But at the same time, those guys who look to sit back and counter, if they don't do enough damage, they might be doing better in the fight. But the judges don't see that. They see the forward pressure and, what Diego is attempting to do. His ground game's pretty decent. He took down Jim Miller, used his size, controlled top position, and really put a number on Jim Miller, which was very impressive, I thought. Look for a double leg drive through his opponent's hips. He does have 7 takedowns over his last 6 wins. Good ground and pound when he's posturing up against Miller, and that's something he might look to exploit here. On the other side of things, Diego, 50% takedown defense, was taken out 3 times by Lamas, 3 times by Jury, twice by Jake Ellenberger weight. He did defend both takedowns against Marcin Held and capitalize on his aggression and hold top position, which I really liked in that fight. Now, Sanchez could find success with the right mix of forward pressure and takedowns and capitalize on some of that ring rust that could be bothering Iaquinta. But he's going to make some improvements, continue to look better since that long break. I think he's going to work his volume striking. He's going to work some counters in. He's going to land the better quality combinations. And I think he'll mix that aggression and countering just nicely enough to be the better fighter. And while I think Al could stop him with the right combination of strikes, my prediction is Iaquinta to defeat Diego Sanchez by decision. Finally, we move to the main event of the evening, and it features the 4th-ranked fighter in the division, Cub Swanson, 24 wins and 7 losses, taking on the Russian hammer, Artem Lobov. 14 wins, 12 defeats, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. Now, this is an odd fight, to say the least. Cub is hovering. Now, he's taking advantage of some guys dropping out of the division, but he is hovering around the top of the division, coming off arguably his best win in recent memory, that barn burner of a fight of the year against Doo Ho Choi. But now he's fighting a guy who a lot of people don't understand why he's in the main event. Maybe it's the connection to Conor McGregor. Lobov struggled through his first 2 UFC fights, but has picked up... he's picked up 2 victories in his last 2 matchups and looked much better, kind of capturing a little bit of the magic he had on the show, not getting knockouts, but still putting together fairly decent performances. He won a fight, as Swanson won that fight of the year, a candidate against Doo Ho Choi. Fight of the year, it wasn't a candidate, it was the fucking fight of the year. And he has won 3 in a row overall. Lobov has a 2-fight winning streak. Lobov is 1 inch taller, Swanson will have a 5-inch reach advantage, and the Irish-Russian fighter is 3 years younger. Now, Lobov has power, and he showcased it on The Ultimate Fighter despite having just 4 knockouts as a pro, the last coming in 2014. He's an unorthodox striker, throws a very vertical stance, hands low, paws with his right, hard straight left, and an uppercut. He'll attack the body, he'll mix in some leg kicks as well. He is at his best when he can move forward, pin his opponent on the cage, and throw his hands and overwhelm them. Get into their head, make them second-guess themselves. That worked on the show against lesser... experienced fighters. We're finding out that's maybe not the best way to do things in the UFC. Overall, he is 6-9 in decisions, coming off a decision victory. His style not decision friendly by any stretch of the imagination. He's had issues with his output. He found some more success in the Avila fight, where Avila was just simply overmatched. He had 86 fights against Toru Ishihara, so that was a damn good performance there, picking up where Ishihara, when he started to slow down and gas out. That's where Lobov got the better of that matchup. Swanson, black belt in... so looking at Cub Swanson, he's a black belt in judo and BJJ. He can go... he can attack on the mat if he wants to, but he only has 1 takedown over his last 5 fights. I don't know if he landed... Can't remember if he landed any against Choi. He can be put on the mat, but that shouldn't be an issue in this fight. Lobov's not a type of guy who's going to look for takedowns, I don't think. Cub tends to be a bit of an unorthodox striker. Technically sound boxer, very quick, but he also throws some of those high-risk maneuvers, jumping knees, capoeira-style kicks. It's all good with Cub. He'll throw whatever he wants, and he don't care. Throws a very nice long left jab, mixes an uppercut, covers a lot of distance. He'll target the body, good low kicks, throws a lot of single strikes, but he's very quick and gets his hands back in position nicely. He has power. Most knockout wins, though, they come over fighters with knockout KO history, but he put a beating on Choi, and he took a lot in that matchup as well. He does hold his hands a little bit low, which creates different angles offensively. As I mentioned, he took a ton of damage in the Choi fight. It showed how durable and mentally tough the guy is. I would expect in this matchup his cardio will hold up much better than Artem Lobov, especially over 5 rounds. Lobov, the volume and speed is going to favor Cub over Artem in this matchup. And Lobov overall, he struggles to land with consistency against lower level fighters. He's not going to have much success against Cub, who's very quick, very difficult to hit at most times. And over 5 rounds, I don't think Artem's style is going to hold up against Cub, who should be able to pull away. We've seen Cub, almost go the distance with Frankie Edgar, how got beat up in that fight, but still he was sticking around. It took a lot to get him out of there. So unless Artem can really catch him on the chin and lay him out, he's not going to match him in volume. I think Lobov sticks around, but my prediction is Cub Swanson to defeat Artem Lobov by decision. So those are my 6 main card predictions for UFC Fight Night 108. We get a bit of a break after this one. I got to get on it. I'm significantly behind as far as getting my prelim predictions, everything else posted, getting this show posted. I thank you as always for tuning in, listening to my show. Greatly appreciated as always. You can follow me on Twitter. I try and be as active as possible. Sometimes it's just not there to tweet. I'm just not there to tweet because I've got other things going on. While the fights are going on, I'm watching them over my shoulder while feeding a kid a bottle. It can be difficult that way. Either way, thanks guys as always. Take care.